Hey, before we start with the video, some disclaimers. First of all, if you do crab beacons with your super, you are in the Beehive. If you are not in the Beehive and you get tackled, you die on your own. We don't care. We don't want to rescue you. You just die. Maybe some FC will ping a fleet to rescue you, but if you red in a super without the Beehive, you will die. Remember that. No Beehive, no super rating. To be clear, do you understand that? Yes, no, maybe. Thank you. Let's continue with the video.
Hello. Today I'll be showing you how to run a crab beacon in Super, specifically in my case, the Wyvern. I know the Wyvern isn't the best super, there are definitely better, specifically the Hell or the Nyx, but it's what I have, and honestly, I think it looks better than the others, and they won't die, so that's what I'm using. Now, to start off, of course, you always want your required. You want to make sure you're using the right fit. I'm probably going to have the fit blacked out when the video comes out. Uh, if you're in the right groups, you know what the fit is. Just make sure you're using the correct fit. Then you need your Faxalt, since I'm using the super. I have my Faxalt right now in CJ. And you need your Sino. If you look over there, oh hey, there's my Sino. Let's click him up real quick. And then, in this case, I'm going to be using a Dreadnought to launch the beacon, since I want to run 6 today, and that way I can run a couple more than usual. Now, first thing in your when you land using the thing, when you land on grid, you want to deploy a mobile depot and a mobile tractor unit. The depot, so you can refit if necessary. You don't need to launch a 1 build Nestor. That will probably get primary the instant you launch it. And the tractor unit, so you can clean up the grid, so you can still warp your Sino in cloaked if you need to. Now, since I am using the Dread to link to the beacon, I will be warping the Dreadnought some 10 kilometers away from the super. There is a chance for you to bump while in the 4 minute link timer, and if you do bump, you lose the CEQ that you used to link it. So that means one less beacon that you can run that day. So it's better to just warp some distance off of the beacon, warp off of it. It's fine, and then the beacon will automatically pop sometime after you kill, once it finishes, and then after you kill the rats. So it's still fine. Since you have a tractor unit, you just automatically hover up the wreck. I am using Amitats, and well, you should always be on comms when Beehive. I'm just going to mute it for a while since there's talk about blobs drop. Might have to cut that stuff out as well. But yeah. Anyways, now that my Dreadnought has deployed the beacon, now it's just a matter of linking to the beacon. It's weird because you have to really zoom in for some reason. There really should be an option to link by right clicking on it or something, but oh well. By the way, beacons are not on most PvP overviews, so make sure you just add them to your overview so you won't accidentally miss them. The range is around 100 to 200, so that's not. I just deployed at 10 kilometers away, which is fine. You could deploy it longer if you want to, and yeah. Now, I have to black out this fit too because it's also a doctrine fit. Now, if you look at, you get a couple debuffs when you're linking to a beacon. You can't cloak, you can't tether, you can't warp, but you get a small damage bonus. There is also another debuff that isn't shown. You cannot move. Like as you can see, I'm aligning, nothing's happening. I'm not moving, I'm not accelerating. It's almost as if I'm in siege mode. Well, it's still good practice to always make sure you line out, but you cannot do anything. This is why bumping is so dangerous when you're linked to a beacon. If you get bumped, you just have to coast and hope that you slow down in time, and you don't exit within 5 kilometers of this radius, which is very small. That's why it's very dangerous with a super, since a super is very massive compared to a dreadnought. And yeah. Now, some other things that you should set up before you start running your C.R.A.B beacon. First off, I would go to your hotkeys over here, fighters, and assign ways to quickly choose what fighters you want to select quickly without having to click on them. I mean, you could if you have good OSU reflexes, but then you have to hold shift, hold control. Just easier to have a hotkey that does it. I set my deselect fighters and then toggle selection so that I can just hit that button and then while holding it down, just press those tubes to select the fighters. If I want to select, say, the 3 heavy squadrons here, the Amitats, I would just hit that button on my mouse, 1, 2, 3, and all of them are selected. If I want to do this with the space of superiority, same thing, and it's selected. Also, check your ship selection. You do not want, because you will, if you select your ship, you can move your ship, and which isn't. So just make sure you can select your ship. So make sure you deselect your ship, because most of the time you want either sitting still or aligned out. Probably sitting still mostly though. And the beacon's about to launch. Now, if I were to launch my fighters now, what would happen is the rats would warp in, lock one of the fighters, and basically alpha it. I actually had a loss build yesterday. If you look here, this thing died in almost no time. It's Tech 2, and it died in like literally 2 cycles of the drone guns. So it's better to just wait for the penalty to disappear, then give it like another 15 seconds, and then you can deploy your fighters. I've never had the rats target my fighters that way, which I find to work pretty well. There are several types of rats. There's a couple small rats, some battle cruisers, some battleships. There's a chance to get a carrier or a super carrier. I'm not sure about super carrier part actually. If you do get one, there's a chance he drops officer mods, which is always nice. But for the most part, the Iskin here is in the rats and is in the bounty on the rats. As you can see, 5 mil bounty, 3 mil bounty. Not the best PRM, but it's fine. And also in the loot in the C.R.A.B beacon once it finishes. Cycling. Now, you want to set your NSA to auto repeat off because this thing drains cap. I'm going to lock them first. Now, this rat, the Tau, is pretty annoying because it's like 60. It's at 60 off, and it just loves shooting. It just loves being hard to hit. So I'm going to launch these and instantly set my ready to attack and approach. I'm going to then take my superiority, set them on this, and that should deal with the first wave. By the way, I mean this could run it, but I think it's better to just stock it up and just have my super run it because nags aren't known for being tanky. Now, as you can see, these aren't hitting well, but I mean, I could always burn my light fighters out to hit it, but it's probably not optimal. Now, luckily, they decided to red cycle around me immediately, so I don't have to worry about them shooting my fighters, at least for now. Okay, nice. I'm going to choose my first 3 fighters, set them to orbit that, and then start shooting that rat as well. Now, the big thing about fighters is the default orbit will send them on a pretty wide path. I can see it's not that bad with space superiority, but on the heavy fighters, this is default orbit. It's pretty tight. It just falls close to the default fighters. Okay, wonder why that rat decides to warp off. But if you were to look at my heavy fighters, the long range fighters, the orbit is pretty big and optimal. Now, you don't need to worry about optimal range or like getting good tracking. All you need to worry about is having them close to the target. So that's why I usually recenter them and tell them all to orbit my C.R.A.B beacon. That way they're usually within range of almost everything. There is a return and orbit button, but I find that takes longer than just telling them to orbit a different structure. And now You don't have to worry about tracking. Fighters have missile damage mechanics, which makes it both easier and harder to do sometimes. So it's whatever. Now, as I was saying, there's believe like 7 or 8 types of rats that spawn. We already seen some of them. The battleships. There's one for each faction. One Caldari, I think it's a Raven. A Galente one, a Dami, a Amar one, which I believe is an Abaddon, and a Mimitar one, which I believe is a Typhoon. They do some damage. You're in the capital. Chances are you're not going to feel the damage. The main issue is if they shoot your fighters, they will basically die in a couple shots. The Galente one deploys drones. You do not have to worry about the drones. The drones do basically negligible damage, and they will despawn once you kill the battleship, so you don't have to worry about them. There's also no bounty or anything for killing them, so just ignore the drones, shoot the battleship, and yeah. Here's the frigate. The frigate's very easy. Just set your space superiority fighters on it, and they will die within, I think, 2 cycles of their main guns. Battleship. This one's a Raven, Typhoon. None of them are any challenge. And as you can see, 2 cycles and the thing dies. I'll set these to orbit this and have these reapproach to the beacon. As you can see, there is no loot being dropped from the wrecks. There's also no salvage being. It's also not worth to salvage for the most parts. So, yeah. If anything, the battleships are actually the easier part. The more annoying ones are the cruiser and battlecruiser rats that spawn, because sometimes the heavy fighters have difficulty tracking the the smaller rats, while these things have limited range, so they can't just hit them willy nilly. Sometimes you might actually have to burn them closer because these get a decent velocity bonus when you use F2. Just know that it has a cooldown. And yeah. As you can see, we have 2 infesting rupture towers here. They're annoying. They prefer to orbit you at 60 kilometers away. The Amitats, however, have a optimal range of 56.10 and a pretty heavy fall off. You basically never want to shoot into their fall off, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my space superiority burn out to hit the Amitats. First offset these. And have these approach, and then I'm going to have 2 of them to get them there quicker. I'm going to use the space priority to kill these 2 tiles because they're just that annoying. Actually, a lot quicker to kill with the space priority on the tiles as well. And since I put in the attack command, just have these reorbit the beacon. And as you can see, all these rats are dying pretty quickly. The hardest rats to kill are actually the tiles, just because of how far they are and how hard it is for the Amitats to apply to them. But it's pretty easy if you can burn your space superiority out to fight them. It's actually easier to kill them with the with like a Nyx or an Aeon, just because you can use your mids for bonuses to tracking instead of having them to put tank on them. Now, as you can see, we're almost further away through our C.R.A.B beacon. The C.R.A.B beacon does have a lifespan of an hour. There is if you're in the dread, it may be possible to delay the scanning, like run it down to a minute or so, and then constantly keep a rat alive so you get more waves, so you can get a bit more risk. But since I'm running them in super, and I have 2 characters, it's honestly quicker for me to just blitz them, run down the scanner as much as possible, and then just try and just get as much through volume instead. Now I'm going to set these on that, and I'm going to put these on the towel for now. I'm going to set my space priority after this next. It's a good habit to get into the practice of setting an order to your heavy fighters after you set them to attack, because they will, by setting them to attack, they will automatically choose an orbit. So if you give them an order instead, a movement order, I mean, they won't start burning off in random weird directions. But I believe their preferred orbit is 54 or so. Okay, as you can see, the NSA is using a good chunk of my cap every single time I activate it. I believe it's 2,000 or 3,000? 3,000, which is a pretty decent chunk of cap. These I want to put my space superiority on, and this one I'll put my habitats on. I can see it's not the best shots. If I use semi-space priority out, what these do in 2 cycles, they could do in 1 cycle, just because the application is that much of theirs. As you can see, it's going almost 2k, and missile damage mechanics. If you look at explosion velocity 85, it's a lot less than 2k. Explosion rate is 534. I guess we'll see in a moment what their size is considered. But it's definitely a lot smaller than it's probably a lot smaller than the preferred 534. And even if it is, again, velocity mitigates a large amount of the damage. If you don't, basically, missile mechanics. First off, it calculates your signature compared to your explosion radius, I believe. Let me just check real quick. 1 second. Set them to orbit in case they do get aggro. They might be able to mitigate some damage. First, it calculates its signature compared to explosion radius, and then it calculates it. No, it has 3 different formulas. It calculates the minimum of signature radius to velocity to signature radius to explosion radius, or signature radius times velocity of the target over explosion radius times velocity, explosion velocity. It's one of the two. Basically, if they're moving fast, even if their size is pretty big, even this, their size is still relatively small. Even if their size is big, you will hit well. In either case, both of these are small, so they have some trouble hitting. I'm going to set these tiles on that. For the most part, it might just be better to save your habitats for the heavier drones, like the battleships. It might be better to save the heavy drones for battleships and then use the space priority for everything else. Of course, if I had a bit more optimal, then most of these programs will be somewhat mitigated, but you can't always have what you want. And that's enough of that size. Now, hopefully, I don't believe I'm going to get dropped. And if I do get dropped again, I have taken the relevant precautions. The big thing is just make sure you speak up in your comms that you're getting dropped, and make sure to ask for help. I have mumble muted, which I probably shouldn't, but what I'm looking at is I have Fleet Chat open on a different monitor, so I'm just looking to see if anything pops up there. Okay, I am going to put the habitats on this first, have them orbit this, and I'm going to burn these equites out to hit the new. As you can see, the equites do a lot of damage to the new because they have relatively small explosion rate stats, like very smaller explosion radius and very small explosion radius and decently high explosion velocity, so they apply a lot better. Yeah, I want you to chase after the new, and then the Yamatats can hit that. I am slightly slower than optimal, but oh well. I feel like I might have. Can these hit it yet? They can. Main thing to keep in mind is just Amatats are basically the only fighters that work just because they have the best range, but also they do pretty bad damage against anything that's not a battleship, so just keep that in mind. However, if you were to try using more equites, you just run into issues with their range because their range is nowhere good enough for this stuff, really. I'm going to burn the equites out to hit this, and then put the battleships on the Hamatats on the battleship rats. Now, there might be a way to use the bombs to try to hit some targets, but honestly, it's probably easier to just save, don't worry about that. Have these all orbits. As you can see, 2 towels, which are pretty annoying, but they seem to be relatively close together. I'm just going to send the equites out to hit both of them, and hope that I can get them without too much pain. And first bounty, 66 mil, pretty nice. I see the equites do a lot more damage to the towels than the Amatats do. Okay, it was close enough that they were in range. That's good. And then recall the fighters onto me. One more thing, the Amatats are relatively slow for fighters. 805. I mean, that's still like afterburners frigate speeds, but they are relatively considered slow. And their only mobility is an MJD, which knocks you 100 kilometers. And is a bit weird to target as well. If you look at the equites, they're a lot faster, and they get what is essentially an afterburner. Signature radius reduction and max velocity bonus. I'm just using it for the max velocity bonus, mostly. If you do see a carrier, it might be worth actually calling your Amatats and seeing if you can swap them out for torpedo fighters. Just because it's a carrier, torpedo fighters would definitely shoot them up a lot quicker than non-range. But, your choice. I can't say I've gotten one, so I can't really tell you. My 2 more towels. They're close enough. I can't really tell you if it's faster than just killing them with non-range. Well, I can't say I've timed myself doing these, but looks like about a half hour for one, which isn't that bad. I mean, that's dread speeds, but again, I'm using a Wyvern, not a Nyx or an AI, which should have slightly faster times, probably around 20 minutes or so. But it's still pretty fine. It's still fine, I guess. Now I could always warp the nag and try to multi-box it, but oh well. But can tell you I'm definitely not running pure optimally. There's definitely ways to increase this speed. Honestly, the biggest thing that would probably increase it is by trying to get a better omnidirectional tracking link. But then the better one is literally factions, so your choice. But also, you are putting this on what is literally a 60 billion ship, or like 45 billion for the whole. So, what are your chances you're actually going to lose it? Just something to keep in mind if you want to try to increase your ticks with the Wyvern. Now, there is one thing to keep in mind. If after the crab beacon finishes, or if the crab beacon dies, after some time, the wraps will warp away. If there is a Dominic's battleship on field, the Galente one that deploys the drones, if that battleship does end up warping away, the drones will stay and they will still keep attacking you. So that just might be the one case where you actually have to lock and kill the drones individually. In that case, just use the Equites. The Equites are very good at killing small stuff, especially drones. Amethyst can hit this, and you can hit that. And I think the crab beacon should be finishing off of this. Please don't. I wouldn't recall your fighters against the beacon finishes. There is a chance that a wave can still warp in afterwards. Also, I am not going to be burning down to try to loot the beacon. Sometime after the beacon finishes, it will turn into a wreck by itself. You could shoot it if you want to do a cooker, but there's a chance you lose loot, and also it will show up as a kill mail that can be searched. But you can see the beacon finishes, but they still spawn a small wave in. You can kill this wave. You could ignore it. If you see the battleship, probably kill it because again, the Galactic battleship drones will stay even if the battleship warps out. This wave will warp out sometime after the beacon self-destructs. And this is actually one of the more annoying waves, unfortunately. So they have these burned for this. Not sure if they can kill it in time. These, I'm not sure if they can even hit that. Oh, they can. That's nice. That's some nice application. And hopefully they're in range. They are not. Well, unfortunately I didn't get an officer spawn, but then they are considered rare, so it's whatever. I am going to now call these back. It's unlikely, as you can see, the C.R.A.B beacon self-destructed. Just going to wait for the MTU should choose to do that rec next. Just going to open the MTU preemptively. Let's see what the C.R.A.B beacon gives me. This nice little rec over here. Come on, MTU. C.R.A.B beacon should be your closest rec after this. There we go. And 81 mil. Most of it in the rogue data, the rogue drone infestations. That if you look at the wallet, already I got 74 mil bounty prize. Probably going to be another tick later. Let me just warp my dread back up to run the next one. If you look at ESS bank, 51 mil in the main bank. So not sure how much of that is me. Probably most of that is me. So as you can see, that one beacon gave us 71 mil plus another 70 mil in loot and probably another bounty and some warp to within 10 and 50 mil. So as you can see, we already made a profit of around 120 mil just by running this site. Once the next bounty comes in, it's probably going to be a bit more. So yeah, they are pretty valuable to run. The beacon themselves cost around 70 to 80 mil, so just keep that in mind. If you end up not being able to run a beacon, that's basically a 70 mil loss. So yeah. Well, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned how to. Hope you learned something new. But also, chances are, if you are watching this video, either you're just interested in how super works, or if you're in the super, you probably should already know how to do most of these things, anyways. But yeah. Thanks for watching.